It's one front, because what the Iranians trying to do is to actually create a multi-front challenge for Israel. That next conflict, Israel is going to face a conflict from Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria at the same time. That's what they try to do. Now, I told you about the Sunni Shiites conflict. The Iranian are Shiites, but sometimes when they have the same interest, they cooperate with the Sunnis. For example, the Islamic Jihad and the Hamas in Gaza are Sunnis. In spite of this fact, the Iranians cooperate, fund, and rearm those two terror organizations against Israel. So, what's the situation with the Hezbollah in Lebanon? The bottom line in Lebanon, the Iranians and the Hezbollah control Lebanon. That's the bottom line today. And we're going to have an election next week. And probably the Hezbollah will increase dramatically their political power. There's no question about it. Now, as you know, we have the Second Lebanon War that took place 12 years ago, which actually was not very successful from the Israeli point of view. I must be honest with you. We had a lot of failures of readiness of the Israeli home front. We had a lot of failures in the battlefield. So the bottom line, we did not achieve a decisive victory. And we compromised on a terrible diplomatic deal, what we call the UN Resolution 1701. But the question is, why the last 12 years is so quiet along the Lebanese border? Why the Hezbollah didn't try to escalate the situation against Israel? First of all, in spite of the fact that Israel was not ready to this war, the Hezbollah suffered a lot of damage. They lost 700 terrorists, over 1,000 were injured. Those are real numbers for a small guerrilla organization. In that time, 12 years ago, they used to have 7,000 terrorists. Today they have over 40,000. The second reason, the young generation, even in the Shiite community in southern Lebanon, disagree with Hezbollah policy. Lately we saw the religious leaders in the Shiite communities in Lebanon disagree with Hezbollah policy because they claim the Hezbollah leaders, you take Lebanese guys across the border to Syria to fight for foreign countries, for the Iranians, for Assad. That's unacceptable. Why we have to sacrifice our sons from Lebanon for the Iranians and for Assad? That's unacceptable. And we saw a lot of demonstrations in Lebanon leading by Saudi's money against the Hezbollah bombs. And the third point why it's so quiet, since the war had ended, the Hezbollah changed their strategy. Instead of sitting on the border, they stepped back a few miles. And by purpose, they built their bunkers, tunnels, and missile sites under hospitals, under civilians, under schools, because they know when the pictures of the civilian death come to the people in New York City, Paris, London, the game is over. They use the life of their people as a tool in their struggle against Israel. That's unacceptable. That's a war crime. There's no question about it. And the other thing that we have a multinational forces deployed in the region. For example, we have along the Lebanese border on the eastern section, Spanish brigade deployed. They're wonderful guys. They enjoy the Israeli sun. They got a wonderful payment. But that's not the point. Do they stop the rearming process from Iran? Unfortunately not. And here are the numbers. Instead of having 30,000 missiles 12 years ago, the Hezbollah today have 130,000 missiles ready to be launched to Israel. That's a terrible threat. We estimate, by the way, that in any conflict in the future, the Hezbollah is going to launch at least 1,500 missiles every day to Israel. That's a real threat. Now, that's true that we have 10 Iron Dome batteries. We're going to double the numbers next year. And we have the multi-tire system that can block many of those missiles, but we cannot block all of them. And that's going to be, the key question, how long is it going to take the Israeli Air Force to destroy those missile sites that we know exactly where they are located? I would assume it's going to take like a week. That's going to be a very tough week for Tel Aviv area and for the Israeli home front until the Israeli pilots will destroy the majority of those sites all over Israel. But the most important thing is quiet, because the Israeli deterrence is very effective. The Hezbollah leaders, they know if they're going to restart attacking Israeli targets, the Israeli response is going to be crazy. Now, how the civil war in Syria The crisis in Syria affects the situation in Lebanon. You know, the Hezbollah, as I told you, sent 10,000 terrorists to fight for Assad in Syria, not against Israel. Now, in those battles, they got a lot of experience, but they lost 2,000 deaths and over 6,000 were injured. That's a crazy number. And that's created a lot of demonstration inside Lebanon. But that's cost a lot of money. Think about it, to pay 8,000 families every month, that's a lot of money for the Hezbollah. And that's created a lot of demonstration even in the Shiite communities. And the other big issue on the table, you know, I told you that this crazy war in Syria, we have 10 million people are refugees, 2 in Jordan, 3 in Turkey, 2 in Syria itself, over 1 million in Germany, and 2 million crossed the border from Syria to Lebanon. Now, you know what's the total number of the Lebanese population? 4 million. Now they got another 2 million Sunnis. You can imagine how it's going to affect the structure of the Lebanese society, how it's going to affect the relationship between the communities. That's why the Iranians and the Hezbollah are so nervous about it. Now, with those two tough challenges, fighting in Syria with so many casualties, and the refugees issue, do they have any interest to open a new front with Israel? Definitely not. That's why they keep the Israeli borders so wide for so many years. Okay? Now, let me say a few words about the situation in Gaza, which is actually, I told you that the Iranians are involved there with the Hamas and the Jihad Islami. First of all, when we talk about the situation in Gaza 4 years after the Protective Age operation that took place in 2014, we have an effective Israeli deterrence. The Hamas actually almost didn't try to do anything. The Islamic Jihad, who found and supported by the Iranians, actually tried to escalate the situation in the last few years. There are two performances that characterize the situation in Gaza. One, Israel is building a huge obstacle along Gaza Strip. Cost billions of dollars, because we want to prevent from them to continue to dig the tunnels, and we put it as a national project. We have a secret technology that can indicate exactly where are the tunnels. And you probably heard that in the last couple of months we destroyed every month another tunnel, and that's a strategic weapon that the Hamas spent billions of dollars to build it. It's going to end in the end of it. So they cannot launch rockets to Israel, missiles to Israel, because we have the Iron Dome. Now they cannot dig the tunnels that can arrive to the Israeli communities. And they were thinking, if they're going to escalate the situation with the Israeli project to build the obstacle and destroy those tunnels, they decided that they're not going to escalate the situation. But on the other hand, we have a very tough humanitarian crisis over Gaza. You know why? Because all the money that the international community sent to Gaza to have a better life for the 2 million people that live in Gaza, the Hamas take this budget and dig more tunnels and rearm themselves instead of rebuild Gaza and give the people of Gaza better life. Even the reconciliation agreement that we saw lately between the Palestinian Authority and the Hamas didn't work out, because the Hamas really don't want to cooperate with the Palestinian Authority. They don't want to be under the command of President Abbas. They want to keep their military capability, and in the end of the day, their strategic interest is to take the West Bank in the next election and actually control the West Bank and Gaza together. That's going to be a real threat to the stability of those regions. So the bottom line is we face some escalation with the March of Retrain lately, all the demonstrations on the fence of Gaza. It's going to be very tough next 2 weeks when we're going to open the new American embassy in Jerusalem. We're going to face a lot of demonstration along the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, because Jerusalem is a big issue in the West Bank also. So we're going to have a very tough situation in Israel next 2 weeks with the crisis. Think about it, with the situation in the Golan Heights with the Iranians, that's going to be very tough.